the Reddit vine.
What is a gut feeling you had that ended up saving your life? When I was 14, my parents went away for the weekend and left me at home with my 19-year-old brother who was home from college. For some reason, the power went out that Saturday morning. My brother decided to go for a hike until it came back on. I was home alone. Not a big deal for me at the time, waiting for the power to come back. A man in a uniform for the power company came to my door and asked to come in and take me to the basement where the circuit breaker was. It didn't feel right. Power company people rarely come into your house. I told him no, and lied and said I would get my brother to check. He said he would come back later and check the outside lines. I called a family friend to come over because it gave me the heebie-jeebies. We walk around the house and find the uniform and fake tools in the hedge. I called the electric company and they said no one was dispatched, but they would dispatch someone immediately. Apparently, there was a line cut to our house. When I was a preteen, my family went to NYC for New Year's. As we were leaving the ball drop ceremony, I remember being really uncomfortable with how tight the crowds got at certain points. A couple of decades later, I'm living in Seoul and decide to have a Halloween party. After the party, we were going to walk over to the foreigner district to keep partying there. As we were walking over, a friend said he wanted to go to the main back street where all of the bar events were. But my other buddy and I were both adamant that not only would we not be going down that alleyway, but neither would that because there were too many people and not enough space. That was the night the crowd crush happened. One of my friends ended up giving CPR to a guy who didn't make it. My house became a halfway house for other friends of friends who ended up in the back part of the crush. They were okay, but also gave mouth to people who didn't make it. It was horrible. But I remember thinking, oh my God, what if my buddy and I hadn't put our feet down and said no to going up that alleyway? I was walking home from a party late at night. I passed by a group of people that seemed a bit off. To get to my place, I had to cut through a park. When I reached the entrance, I suddenly felt like I was being followed, so I hid in a bush at the entrance. Drunk me thought I was just being paranoid, LOL. About a minute later, the group of guys came running past, their phone flashlights on, searching for someone. They were shouting, laughing, and out of control, almost hunting for a prey. I waited until they went deeper into the park. Then I made a run for it and sprinted all the way home. I ride the bus home from work. One afternoon after work, I had the strong urge to just get on any bus and go home immediately. Normally, I hang around the area for an hour or so, but today felt different. I felt sort of rushed. I rode the first bus I saw, and as we were departing the stop, I heard a loud crash, like a vehicle hitting another vehicle, but not that loud. The bus took off, and 1 hour later, at home, I found out that a bus at the station where I was just at was rigged with a BAM, and it exploded as we left the station. One time, I was about 8 years old. I was at my aunt's house with my cousin, who's about a year younger than me. My aunt lived on a small, quiet street. She often left us inside to watch cartoons while she mowed her yard and the field next to it, or tended to her garden. One summer afternoon, she had done exactly that. My cousin and I just relaxing in the back den, when suddenly, a man we didn't know walked around the side of the house and yelled at us through the window in the den. He asked, "Is anyone home?" while making direct eye contact with us. I told my cousin to run and lock the door in the kitchen, and I quickly locked the door from the patio into the den. Only a few steps away from him and replied, "Yes, Dad," as if my dad were just in the other room. The guy did a double take and took off running in the other direction. I went running through the house to look out the front window, and he was gone too fast for me to even catch him. I have no idea what direction he went in, but I just knew he was going to try to get in the house and do something awful had I not acted quickly. My heart was beating out of my chest. I had one of these a couple months ago. I had stomach pain all day that wouldn't go away no matter what I took. Tums, Gas-X, Pepto, nothing worked. I figured if I just go to bed, I'd feel better the next day. Well, at around 2 a.m., I woke up and the pain was still bothering me. So I decided to go to the hospital, which I wouldn't normally do. Turns out it was appendicitis, and they had to perform surgery that evening. This was quite literally a gut feeling. My cousin and I were out walking down a frozen stream. A slow sinking feeling hit me. I said we have to get off the ice now. My cousin laughed and ignored me as I quickly waddled to shore without him. Loud, rapid cracking noises invaded the silence, and I spun around just in time to see the top of his stupid head sink below the ice. I had to run back out onto the ice downstream to Hulk smash a section of ice, and I yanked him out by his clothes. He's one of those people who are always getting injured because they're too stupid to listen or pay attention. I was doing some primitive site camping. I was well off the trail in the middle of nowhere. I had set up my camp, I had a small fire going, and I just didn't feel right. Everything felt off. I tried brushing the feeling away, since the alternative was a few hours hiking back to my car, but it wouldn't go away. So I put out the fire, broke camp, and left. When I say my state is not known for tornadoes, I mean it. We get them. But they're minor, barely breaking, and EF1, usually EF0. This one was an EF3. Only one on record, from my knowledge. I went back a week later. It had torn directly through where I had set up camp. If I had stayed, I'd have been directly in its path. I was riding home from work on my motorcycle and felt a phantom touch on my right side. I instinctively yawed to the left in my lane. A split second after I did that, a Dodge Charger blew past me. In middle school, my best friend invited me to Knott's Berry Farm with another group of kids he was friends with. One of the girls was super cute, and rumor was that she wanted to date me. It was October time, so Knott's Scary Farm was open. For all SoCal kids around this time, we all know Knott's Scary Farm, with girl equals bag secured. I got to my friend's house after running some errands with my mom. There were 5 kids, aged 14 to 15 there. I asked my friend how we were getting there, and he said he was driving his dad's car. He was underage and had no license. Not trying to look soft, I said yes. Right before we got into the car, I had the worst feeling come over me. I literally left without making a sound, running to a nearby Starbucks and using a stranger's phone and asking my mother to pick me up. I felt so embarrassed and knew I was going to get shit all month from my friend and probably blew any shot with this girl. A few hours later, they were on their was home on the freeway and lost control of the vehicle, all 5D-I0D. When I moved to Miami, I was working nightlife at the top clubs/establishments. I was meeting people every day at any given moment. One good friend specifically told me during my first month there to never go to Diddy's house, whether for a party, hangout, for nothing. He told me nothing good comes from going over there. This friend never warned me of anything, knowing how wild my life could get. I went with my gut and listened to him. I even knew people who lived on the private islands here in Miami: Palm, Star, Hibiscus, and Flagler. I thank God I listened to my friend every day, because I knew girls who jumped at the excitement of an invite to Diddy's house, and I just knew to never fall for the hype. Went to a party with a friend. Said friend becomes extremely impaired, so another partygoer and I confiscate her keys and hide them. She spends a while trying to convince me to tell her where they are, but I got a weird feeling over my body. She kept saying, "It's okay, I sobered up, only had XYZ." I go to the bathroom, and as I'm coming out, she somehow finds the keys and jumps in her car, taking off down the road. Just as someone says, "That's not good," and she disappears around the corner, we hear a loud crash. We all run up the road to check on her, and she had ran off the road into a cow farmer's field, taking out his fence line and the side of a barn. I go up to the vehicle, and in the passenger side, there were 2 fence posts sticking out of the seat. One where my head would have been, and another where my stomach would have been. Also, not life and death, but when I was in rehab, I decided to go out to this church everyone kept talking about because we weren't allowed to do much. So I figured, fuck it, maybe they'll have snacks, LOL. We walk in, and I immediately got a sense of evil, negativity. IDK, how to explain it? Besides the hair standing up on your neck and your feet trying to go backwards. LOL. After the service is over, I tell my friends, I'm never coming back here. Something very, very wrong happens here. A year later, I'm sober and scrolling FB and see that exact church had 2 of its leaders were busted for child X crimes. Not me, but my aunt. Decades ago, when she was attending college in Seattle, she went on a blind date with a guy. She said something about him gave her bad vibes. So she started talking excessively about how she had a black belt and loved sparring to try and turn him off from getting any ideas that day, and didn't want to ever see him again afterwards. Dude turned out to be Ted Bundy during his time in Washington. When I was 13 or 14 years old, I was up late at night. My dad was away for work, and my mom and brother were sleeping. I let the dog out, and when I went to let him back in, he was staring towards the dark backyard, and I got freaked out by it. So when I went back inside, I put the chain link lock up on the back door. That was the only lock we had on that door. Shortly after that, I was in the living room, and the dog was drinking by the back door. I could see the dog, but not the door from where I was sitting. He stopped drinking and started staring at the door. Then he started quietly growling. Then I heard the door pull open and the chain lock catch. The dog started freaking out, barking and jumping at the door. I ran upstairs and woke my brother up and told him someone was trying to get into the house. He came down with a bat and looked around, but nobody was there. I'm assuming the dog scared whoever it was away. We never locked our doors back then. If I had not gotten that feeling when I let the dog in, whoever it was would have been able to just walk right in with me sitting there alone. Not me, but my mom had a gut feeling that her best friend was having a heart attack and saved her life. One day they were on the phone together, and her friend just mentioned that she was just feeling really off. She felt odd pains and was super fatigued and was going to hang up and sleep it off. My mom said she just didn't sound okay and told her she should get checked out ASAP. My mom's friend blew her off, and my mom said she just had a really bad gut feeling and couldn't let it go. She told her, either you let me come, take you to the ER, or I'll call you an ambulance. Friend was annoyed but went to the ER. It was a massive heart attack, and her friend probably wouldn't have woken up if she had tried to sleep it off. Mine, unfortunately, didn't save a life. but it's a good story about listening to your gut. My cousin has been wrong his entire life, due to severe abuse from his dad, my uncle, to the point that my sister and I have called him serial cousin since we were in high school 15 years ago. He's got the soulless eyes you always hear about, and I knew eventually he would kill someone. I had a standing rule with my family that my son wasn't allowed around him alone, ever. To their credit, they listened to me on that one. Last year in June, serial cousin finally laid hands on my grandma, who he lived with, and scared her. My parents were going to go with my grandma to her house to kick him out. I begged my dad not to go, and to just call the police. I said verbatim, he's going to have a gun and shoot all three of you. They didn't listen to me. All three of them. My dad, my mom, and grandma lived. I'm still furious with my dad for leaving me without him because he refused to listen. Edit. Thank you all for your condolences. Tomorrow is 8 months exactly, and I'm really feeling it. I can't believe he's been gone for so long already. It feels like I talked to him last week. Hug your dads. Tell them you love them. I wish I could hug mine again. In college, I met a guy through a club who seemed nice at first, but something told me not to hang out with him anymore. I made excuses and noticed he started showing up wherever I was on campus. And then he kept coming to my dorm room. That weirded me out, so I started actively avoiding him, until my RA said he had been stalking her friend over the summer session, including sneaking in her room at night to watch her sleep. I started being terse and rude whenever he approached me, and eventually he faded out. Then saw in the school paper that he was arrested and thrown off campus for harassing yet another student and had been charged with attempted rape in high school. Trust that gut. I'm so sorry for your loss. In second grade, my class got a new kid at our private school. He looked at me when he walked in the room, and something about him scared me so badly my knees went weak. And it's like he noticed my reaction and excitedly would keep looking at me, if that makes sense. I was a sheltered and happy kid who didn't really have the words to express how upset he made me. In the weeks after that, he became so obsessive, constantly interrupting people trying to talk to me, begging for help with his schoolwork when the teacher asked him a question, trying to hug me when I walked by, etc. The teachers kept brushing off his behavior as harmless because he looked and sounded like a little cherub, and his mom tried to encourage me to have playdates with him since he liked me so much. I eventually had a fucking meltdown and insisted on switching schools because after about 2 months, I was just sick with fear and depressed about not being believed. Everybody tried to talk me out of it, but I finally convinced my dad by saying the public school had a computer lab and our private school didn't, and it was about time I learned how to type. This was in the ancient historical period of the early 90s. Didn't see or hear from him again till he enrolled in 11th grade at my public school. Found out when I came face to face with him in the hallway one day. The eerie look he gave me, the way he just lit up when he saw my expression, I instantly started tearing up, and my friends were confused and kind of laughing it off, because it was odd seeing me be a crybaby. And he was just a random guy just standing there, you know? But I was so upset. My hands shook in math class afterward, and I got all clammy. I remember borrowing my friend's flip phone to call my mom and asking her to pick me up so I wouldn't have to walk home alone from school. Thankfully, I didn't run into him again in that hallway, because I started using the long way around to get to my classes. A few months later, here POD one of the girls in special ed. She and I had the same color skin, hair, and eyes, plus a similar type of glasses. She got pregnant. Both families were pro-life, and his mom was a high-powered lawyer. No charges filed. Baby was delivered and kept by her family. Even fucking then, some people still told me I was overreacting about him. He graduated high school early and tried to join the army at a recruitment center outside of town, where they didn't know about what he did. But they must have sensed something was off about him, because he was rebuffed, rather unusually and aggressively. My dad heard about it through the grapevine from his colleagues at the VA. The guy moved out of town after that. I haven't seen him in person since 2006, but I still Google his name to see if he's back in the area. I still have nightmares about him. I never post my location on social media. I don't go to high school reunions. It's amazing how haunted I am by someone who never physically did anything to me, besides hug me a few times when we were 7 years old. Sorry for the sudden trauma dumping. Your comment just reminded me of the whole thing I went through. Used to work in skilled trade staffing. Interviewed a guy on Friday afternoon for an electrician position the following week. Everything, drug screen, background, and demeanor, it all checked out green. He told me he hadn't slept in a couple of days and was looking forward to sleeping all weekend and getting back to work. That was a little bit of a yellow flag for me, so I told him to call me Monday and I'd have a start date for him. Stalling. Went to work Monday morning as usual, and the local news was running a story about him having been picked up Sunday night for murdering his wife. Ready for this? Friday morning at their home.